Don't ever argue with your spouse or significant other if you're hungry or if they're hungry. Because they're not rational at that point. They won't be rational because their hunger will take over. And they may say things they don't mean. My mentors have been more in the form of books and listening to podcasts and such. Mm-hmm. I feel like sometimes it's one of those things where you just live a little bit frugal so that you don't have to get into those kind of debts and stuff, because a lot of that stuff can be avoided if you kind of look at what you're trying to buy and see if you actually need it. It's not more of a want. If it's just a want just to make life fun, then it's like maybe you save up for it instead of you going into debt for that.
Most kids grow up playing with toys, but Moses has been playing with serious tech his whole life. Growing up during the dot-com boom afforded him access to opportunities that sparked his passion for electronics early on. From winning robotics competitions in school to later designing his own circuit boards to power his robots and drones, he turned his curiosity into innovation. Moses, an electrical engineer, is founder and CEO of ZP Labs, a Midwest America-based design and rapid prototyping studio. Running a fleet of 3D printers, his company crafts custom parts for industries ranging from the medical industry to performance motorcycle racing, among many others. In our final Black History Month episode for this year, listen to his insights on life, money, fitness, and intuition. People use money that they don't have to buy things that they don't need to please people that
they don't even like.
You kind of have this fitness routine going on.
Yeah, I guess I'll give you the background on that. So the way that started was, I think it was the height of the pandemic. And, by that time, I gained a few pounds throughout high school and stuff.
Okay.
And I was like, it's time for me to shave off a few pounds. Back in high school, one thing I used to do every summer was I used to run around my parents' place every summer. And I kind of stopped doing that once I got into college and I got into more, robotics in high school and stuff. I kind of stopped doing that. And that's kind of when I started throwing on the pounds. So then it was like pandemic. I was like, New Year's resolution, let's, walk every single day or try to at least travel 2 miles every single day in some way, shape, or form. And then after that, incorporate in some, light weightlifting and stuff. So the way that happened is it was like the first of, it was like 3 years ago, I believe. And then went outside, walked the 2 miles, felt great, and did it every single day.
So wait, so you actually do 2 miles every single, or did 2 miles every single day? That's what you started with?
Yeah, I still do the 2 miles every single day. But essentially, when I first started, I was so overweight that I couldn't run the 2 miles. So my only option was to walk. So then after walking for 3 or 4 months, I then was able to run one of the 2 miles.
Okay. So you ran 1 mile and then walked the other mile.
Yeah, until I was able to actually run both miles.
Okay.
And after I kept on cutting, as I was losing weight, I kept on cutting the weight. I kept on cutting my times down. Then I was doing that in tandem with keto as well.
Okay.
So
what is keto again?
Keto,
for folks who don't know what
keto is essentially where you try to cut out as much carbs and sugar out of your diet.
Okay.
So
what were you eating then?
Well, for me, because I didn't have that much money, I was at my parents' place, I did a lot of salad. And the salad technically wasn't the most healthiest thing ever, but it was pretty much just shredded lettuce, tomatoes, some sour cream for dressing, and a little bit of cheese. And that's what I ate every single day, twice a day, for like a year.
Tomatoes, lettuce, sour cream.
Yeah.
Every single day.
And cheese.
Twice a day. And cheese.
Yeah.
Damn.
Every single day, twice a day, did not have a single cheat day. And the way
doesn't it become boring at some point?
Well, the way I reasoned it was like this, right? And so I kind of thought will this really matter? So me eating this slice of pizza now or eating this cookie now, will this really matter in 2 years? If the answer is no, then I would be like, okay, let's keep it pushing. Let's eat my salad.
Okay. Well, do you think? Do you call yourself a disciplined person then? I mean,
I would like to say I try my best to keep myself in a disciplined state. So like I haven't missed a single day of my 2 mile walk / run. I haven't missed that in the last 3 years.
Damn, man.
So that's every morning. And now, like, it's almost one of those things where it's just part of my morning routine. Like, I can't not do it.
Okay, and so when you said, I mean, I hear all these people saying that, walking kind of gives you a refreshed mind.
Yeah.
And, you probably think better and stuff like that. So how has that been like for you? Does it make you think, I don't know, reason better or?
Well, for me, it's like, it's essentially, it's like, it's a period of time that I have to literally just be with me and my thoughts. Because it's like, it's the time where there's nothing else but me, the road, and outside and fresh air. Since I do it really early in the morning, I'm usually up before most people are up. So the neighborhood is usually pretty quiet. And the sun's either just rising or it's still dark out. So it's just a quiet time where that's the time where I usually spend that time thinking about what I'm going to do next or what's happened, kind of reflect upon life a little bit. And also I do a lot of prayer during that time as well. So I pray a lot during that time, pray for everything that's going on and kind of start off the day on a really, really, really good foot.
Yeah, so you are doing the walking prayer.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, so it's like, I'm just there walking. And sometimes I have music in, usually listen to some good music.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's usually pretty good.
Yeah, I mean,
really good.
That's interesting. I'm just saying this because there's this friend of mine is a retired CEO. I don't know if CEO is ever retired, but this guy is a retired CEO. That's what he calls himself. He used to run this company called CCI Bioenergy up in Canada. And so the guy walks 10 kilometers every single day when it comes to sunshine. I don't know how much that is in miles, maybe something like 4 miles every day. And I don't know, man, the guy seems like he's pretty healthy. He's probably 60, 70 now, something like that, 65 maybe. And so he told me the same thing. That's when he does his thinking. All the decisions that he made, all the serious decisions that he made them while walking. Yeah, and I'm also kind of trying to do the same thing. I don't know if I'll ever get there. And first of all, I don't even know if I have any serious decisions to make. I don't know. If I have serious decisions to make, maybe I'll probably try to do the same thing. So I don't do 2 miles every day. I am not as consistent as you are, but hopefully I'll get there someday. And so is there a time when you ever felt like maybe you needed to do less of the walking?
No,
and stuff like that?
Actually, no. For me, it's one of those things where that's the minimum. I can always do more, but the bare minimum, it's like the standard. I can't go below that. So
okay, so you feel like you could do more?
Well, I could do more for sure. But the way I have my morning routine set up, it's very kind of strict. So it's like I get that in, then I come back in, take my shower, then I try to make a breakfast. Back when I was still in school, I made a breakfast every morning. I made
so what would the breakfast be?
Well, I was on keto. It was the salad.
Yeah. Okay.
So I was chopping up the lettuce, chopping up the tomatoes. I like using fresh cheese. So I just take a block of cheese and I grate that up.
Okay.
And then, But then now it's like, I think it's, I guess whatever I'm feeling for that morning. Either I think this morning I had it was strawberry, granola, yogurt.
So now you can do a little bit of carbs.
Now I'm a bit more free with that. But
okay. Can you do lots of bread and stuff like that?
I tried to keep out I'm trying to keep all the very processed carbohydrates. Okay. Like here in America, we eat a lot of bread, a lot of carbs. So trying to keep that at bay and not try to eat more greens and more proteins really than a lot of processed.
Yeah, I'm only saying this because growing up, I used to eat so much bread. Actually, when I was in high school, I used to have 7 loaves of bread a day. And my friends from high school, they gave me a nickname. So we had this company that used to sell bread in our school. It was called Cafico. So they called me Cafico. That was my nickname for a couple of years. And then I think it somehow got lost. By the time I was getting to my 12th grade, the nickname had been forgotten. I don't know. I feel like bread was the one thing that was like my glorious diet,
Yeah, staple.
Yeah, that was staple, and actually I can't call it staple because it was a privilege to actually
eat bread
because we used to have maize and beans combi. We call it githeri in my.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you say that you lived with your parents. When you're doing all this, so did your parents have anything to say about your diet? About all this new routine that you were introducing in your morning? Maybe they tell you join some cult or something.
No, my parents are honestly pretty chill about it. It's just that
Okay.
like when it came to like family dinners and stuff, and they're eating like ugali and stuff, it's like I just wouldn't eat the ugali. I'll tell
Okay.
you, like let's say we had a family dinner, I might have like their greens,
Okay.
but usually like my eating schedule is very different than theirs because when I was going to college, I would go to school in the morning and I might not be back till pretty late at night. So I'd essentially miss all the family meal times because of school and stuff.
Okay.
But honestly, like I used to announce like whenever, because when I was on that diet, I lost weight like every single week. It was like at least 1.5 pounds every single week, around there. Then eventually, like over that year, I lost like 60 pounds. And as I would hit like a 5-pound milestone, I would say, "Hey guys, I lost 5 pounds this week, and this is over 5 pounds the last couple of weeks, and this is my current weight." And they'd be like, "Oh wow, that's really nice." And every single, every so often, I would say that, and so they'd be like, "Oh, so he's actually doing something." Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Did you inspire anybody to join you in your family with, all
no,
this?
because they're like, dude, this dude is just eating the same salad over and over. So they're like, they're not interested at that.
I know, I would feel the same thing. I mean, first of all, I think by the time we were eating, I don't know, the second, third week or something, I'd probably be out of that. I've done the keto diet too, but I only did it for a month. But I had a couple of cheat days in there already.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's no way. And I wasn't doing for me, keto was, lots of proteins and veggies. And so I would do stuff like eggs and fish or like salmon and lots of chicken as well.
Yeah, but my parents are vegetarian, so I couldn't really cook meat in the house.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So like, if I could have cooked meat and stuff, I would have to purchase it myself. But I was also in college. And I was broke.
Okay.
So I couldn't really go buy meat and make it in the house.
Yeah, and so I was looking at the vegan. So I grew up vegetarian as well, and so we used to have a lot of beans. And so I was like, maybe I can be doing beans while doing my keto diet. And then it turns out the beans are like 65% carbs.
Yeah, they're pretty carb heavy.
I don't know how I missed that. So did you ever see your parents making sacrifices for you to, I don't know. I hear most parents saying that, we moved here so that our kids can have a good life and stuff like that. I don't know about you. Do you ever have, these talks with your parents?
I mean, growing up, since like, say I'm the youngest out of four, me and my twin, we're pretty young. My older siblings, they were older than us by, a good number of years. So the thing is, when my parents were struggling, or if they were, they did a really good job of hiding it. Because, dude, we're kids. We're kids.
Yeah.
So for us, all we cared about was like, going outside and playing outside. And if there were any financial issues happening, they did a really good job of shielding us. And thing is, which is pretty impressive, because like maybe now I realize, oh wait, maybe we were a little struggling then, but they did a really good job of hiding it. To the point where like we never noticed.
Yeah.
Like I remember this one time, one of our pastor friends, I think the pastor's kid, we were already good friends with his kid. I went to his birthday party, and then like we were supposed to bring a gift to his birthday party. That was the first time I ever had a sleepover. Sleepovers are kind of a no-no.
Okay. So you never had sleepovers?
Yeah, but this was the one I knew unless it was family members.
Okay.
That doesn't really count. But like with friends, it was the only time I went on a sleepover with a friend, and the gift we gave him was just $5. For us, $5 at that time was a lot of money. Today, we're like $5 as a birthday gift. What? But to us, we're like 10 or whatever. We were like, yo, $5, we would kill for $5.
Yeah.
But then I was like, oh, so maybe we're a little struggling back then.
I mean, now when you look back.
Yeah, it was like, my parents did a really good job of
making sure that you guys lived a good life. And
now it's like, now we just have like a really big, respect for parents and stuff.
Yeah, that's good. And so when you were, growing up with your parents and your siblings, what didn't you like about this whole experience? Is there stuff that at that point you're like, I mean, I know you've talked about the $5 experience and you probably really like that, but is there stuff like, I don't know, you were looking at other folks around you and you're like, man, maybe I wish I had that. But I know growing up, I wish I had so many things, that my friends had. I don't know about you.
Well, yeah, I mean, I wish that too, obviously. I feel like every kid wishes that they had, some stuff that their friends had or whatever have you. But honestly, for me growing up, it was one of those things where like, we just didn't have all those things. Like I couldn't always have the newest toys, and I just kind of like, I mean, it sucked, but it's like kind of just dealt with it. And for me, I just kind of, at least for me and my brother, we just kind of made do what we had, Like so, for what we did have, we made do with it. And sure, we'd go out and play with our friends. They would have better stuff. We'd go play with them, but we just kind of accepted it for what it was, and just, I guess, kept on going.
Yeah, and I guess I don't know. We were probably going to talk about how you feel about that now, because growing up, I used to long for a lot of things. You know, there was all these friends of mine who had so many things, and I wished I had them. Now I can afford to buy those things or to own those things, but I don't want to own them now, because I feel like, man, I don't need them. You know.
Yeah.
I'm not a minimalist, I'd say. I mean, I always go for the best of the very best of what I need.
Yeah.
But I mean, I see people who live in a minimalist life, and I kind of admire that. I know I can't do that. But what do you think about minimalist life?
Yeah. I think the people go pretty hardcore on that. Some people go like the full minimalist life, and I'm not really cool with that. Like people who have like one plate, one fork, one knife. So, that is a bit extreme for me. But at the same time, I feel like it's one of those things where like it's like a gluttony. Some people just have the desire to have a lot of things. While like some people just aren't comfortable, or they're not content with what they have. But I feel like once you like, I feel like everyone goes through a phase in which they buy everything they want. So like for me, that was like, I think it was sophomore year of college, where like I just had some excess money, so I went and bought everything I ever wanted. I bought like drones and video game systems, and for like a year I just went crazy. I just went around buying everything I wanted. But after that, I was just like, yeah, I'm done.
Okay.
So like I bought everything I really like, not everything I ever really wanted, but I kind of got lost in that whole thing of just buying these things, and the end all be all, you realize like they don't really fulfill anything. I think everyone gets to a point where they realize like all these materialistic things, you can buy as many as you want, but I mean, some of them can bring happiness, but they don't bring you true happiness. So eventually you start realizing maybe you can live within, like you can still, it's nothing wrong with having nice things, but it's like you kind of just learned like what you're willing to spend a lot of money on, and then what you're willing to just kind of just have. And I feel like there's always a balance between having like a nice things and living within your means, and then being gluttonous. Because if you're not careful, you can easily get to a point of gluttony where you're just buying for the sake of buying.
Yeah, and I mean, I probably kind of did that a lot as well, because when I was doing when I started my filmmaking career, I acquired so much gear.
Yeah,
and there was this guy who calls it gear acquisition syndrome. I was talking to some guys in Long and McQuaid. Long and McQuaid is the guys who I got all my audio equipment from. And I was talking to this guy. I was telling him, I suffer from gear acquisition syndrome. You're gonna see me often. And we've kind of had that connection, because I buy stuff and I return it almost 2 months later.
Oh, really?
Or a month later, or maybe 2 weeks later, because I realized I don't need it anymore. But I acquired so much gear. Every time I'm watching this YouTube video and then someone is marketing this gear, I don't know, this gimbal or whatever, I go and get it, and then I realize, man, I don't need this thing. And I have so much equipment lying around, and now I'm giving it away for free because I don't have use for it anymore. I mean, I have all these old cameras and all this lighting equipment, all this sound equipment that I don't think I can use anymore, because I have new stuff now that is probably better. And now I'm learning to minimize the use of getting new equipment.
I feel like one thing that could probably touch you help with that is if you make sure in your home you don't have that much space to store things. Because I feel like if you have too much storage, you then look at that storage as a place to just dump things. So then it's like, if you live in a smaller place, like if you want to keep your place looking nice and clean, and manage the amount of storage you have, it just means you actually have to be intentional with what you purchase and keep in your home.
Yeah.
And what you don't need, either sell it, throw it out. And honestly, there's like a rule I like to try to follow. Like if you're not going to use it within the next 6 months, get rid of it.
Yeah. So do you have old clothes that you never wore for like the past year, 2 years?
I think I still have a few, but I'm starting to phase out. It's more like Kenyan clothes, like traditional Kenyan clothes. Those I don't wear all the time, more like suits and stuff. But even stuff like that, like I don't have a whole lot of those kind of clothes. But for those, maybe I might store my parents' place, like a little place. But like at least here and stuff, I've been very mindful of making sure that what I have here is actually what I want to have here, and what I actually need, and then all the stuff which is extra, just try to sell it off. And it's one of those things where like just try to be more mindful of every single purchase you make. That's all.
True. I also have all these clothes that I've not worn for the past many years, and so what I've done is So I decided to take all these clothes from my closet. Now I got my wife's clothes as well. But we got all off the closet. We had some, clothes all over the place, man. And so what I did is I said I'm gonna donate these clothes. But guess what I did, man? I went and rented a storage and stored them in the storage.
Yeah. Then.
And now that storage is full. I'm like, why am I doing
Yeah.
this? You know?
Yeah.
And I keep convincing myself that I wanna fill the storage with so much, so many clothes and equipment and stuff that I don't use anymore, and then I can donate all this together. But I don't know. Now I'm paying for the storage, and I mean I don't know, man.
Yeah, pretty soon if you're not careful, you'll be paying for a second storage.
Yeah, man. And one other thing that I'm trying to do, so I don't get more than I need, is so I make sure that when I buy food, I don't go, when I go grocery shopping, I'm not hungry.
Yeah.
You do that same?
Yeah. You gotta make sure that like if you go buy food, make sure you're not hungry. Like also I think it was Jordan Peterson. He said this one quote, but like this is on the topic of like relationships and stuff. It's like don't ever argue with your spouse or significant other if you're hungry or if they're hungry.
Okay.
Because they're not rational at that point. They won't be rational because their hunger will take over, and they may say things they don't mean. So always make sure you're on a full stomach before you have a business conversation or a conversation with your significant other, or if you have any sort of meaningful, life-impacting conversation, make sure you're full and you have food in your stomach or satiated in some way, shape, or form.
Damn, that's I think that's deep. The simplest thing that I do is grocery shopping, so I never do grocery shopping when I'm hungry.
Yeah.
But especially when I was doing the keto diet, man, I was hungry all the time when I was doing all these important conversations, or when I was teaching myself. When I was hungry sometime, and I'd be, trying to say important stuff, but I can't say all this important stuff because I'm so hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and so what I do now is whenever I go to Costco, I never go with I never get the trolley or the shopping cart.
Really?
Yes, when I'm by myself. So my wife has been traveling for a while now, and I've been just by myself. And so I make sure when I go into Costco, I never have the trolley. So I only go and get what I need, because whenever I have the trolley, going back to what you said about the living in a having so much storage space, and you end up buying all this stuff because you have a place to store them. Now I go to Costco without a trolley, then I don't have anywhere to put stuff. And stuff in Costco is very heavy.
Yeah.
So I end up only buying like a bag of avocado and I guess a bag of fruits here and some veggies and asparagus, and that's it. Or a tray of eggs, and that's it. Whatever can fit in my hands, that's all that I can buy. And I found that to be really, really effective. So you said a bunch of things here that I want to circle back to. I've just been writing them down. So you talked about buying drones and doing all these drone competitions when you were in high school. So how did you end up getting into all this drones and being interested in drones for starters and stuff like that?
So I mean, I feel like how a lot of people get into things. You go to YouTube. And the kind of drones I got really into, the kind of drone flying at least, was like the FPV quadcopters, racing quads and stuff. So I went and bought.
So what's FPV?
So first person view is essentially where there's a camera mounted on your drone and you have goggles on, and then you see exactly what the drone sees.
Okay, so it's like you're a fighter jet pilot and you're sitting in the jet and you're flying it around.
And usually, like if you do FPV flying, a lot of guys they fly without stabilizers, so you're doing all the stabilization yourself, but then you get full control of your drone. It's like essentially like you're driving manual in a car. So you have full control of everything. If you want to hit a tree, you can hit a tree. If you let go of the sticks, you'll either drop or you'll soar forever. So getting into that I thought was really fun. Learning how to fly like a quad that's fully manual with no stabilization. It's pretty hard. It's a skill. It takes a lot of practice, and I thought it was really interesting and fun. So I spent a lot of time learning. I got decent, but I'm not not very good. I didn't get super good, but I can fly a quad with no problem. But that was fun. That was really fun. And there were talks about at my high school I graduated from, of them starting like a drone racing league there. So I started talking with the teachers there and stuff. That never really went anywhere, but it was a fun experience learning how to fly the drones. I have all these drones. I still fly from time to time, not as much as I used to. But it's pretty fun. Like one thing that I need to figure out was these drones and stuff. They have essentially, obviously they have their main flight controller and stuff to control the actual motors and stuff and take inputs from your receiver, from your transmitter. But they also have something called a VTX. It's a video transmitter, essentially, to transfer the video from the drone, footage from the drone, to your goggles. But one thing that I needed to figure out, one of the reasons why I even got into this was I was trying to figure out how I can make my own VTX, my own essentially video transmitter, where I would be able to take an input from some sort of camera, it would go into my little solution here, which would be a VTX essentially, and then it would send it out to my goggles.
Okay.
So essentially, that's one thing I wanted to figure out how to do. So even though I was buying all these drones, I was also buying them so I could look at what their VTXs were and what they had on there. And then a lot of the times, their systems were either, there's this thing where they do a lot in electronics, they don't want you to figure out what is going on. Electronically, they'll put like a big black silicone blob over the ICs.
I see that all the time.
Usually, they might have an exposed IC, and they usually cover it just so that to make it cheaper. So essentially, instead of it being that black square you see, it'll be the internal die with just a black silicone over that. Sometimes they'll do that too, and that's how you see in calculators and stuff, cheap electronics like that. But sometimes, just like you won't figure it out and reverse engineer their circuit or whatever have you, they just put a black blob over everything, and it gets very hard to scrape that stuff off. But eventually, I was able to find, I think, a drone or two that had their VTX ICs underneath one of those RF cans to kind of handle EMI interference. And then I was able to take that off, and I saw what chip they had what they had on there. And using that chip, I was able to go online, research it, almost nothing online. Then I contacted the manufacturer, and I was able to reverse engineer, and then I was able to make my own VTX from that.
Okay, great. So let's backtrack a little bit. You've talked about a bunch of times here that, some folks here probably don't understand. Okay, so RF cans. So what are those? So
essentially, radio frequencies. So in the US at least, if you want to sell anything that has some sort of that messes somehow with the radio frequencies, whether or not it broadcasts something or listens to something, you have to make sure. Well, most devices have to do this anyway, but you have to make sure your electronic device or circuit passes EMI, essentially electromagnetic interference, especially when it comes into the RF range, where if you're not careful, you could mess with like Wi-Fi signals or various waves are going around. And where it can get really bad is if it goes to people who have pacemakers, and somehow your device emits so much electromagnetic interference that it somehow stops someone's pacemaker and then they die.
Yeah. Okay. So you end up becoming this, I don't know, this killer.
Yeah. So that's something you cannot do. Yeah. You have to be very careful with that. So
knowing that you can actually mess with this stuff and it can end up killing somebody, something as simple as my transmission can end up interfering with someone's pacemaker.
Yeah.
And can end up killing them. And I know you're flying all these drones all over the place in people's, I don't know if you're flying them in people's homes, but I guess there's people walking in the parks.
Yeah.
And maybe the drone lands right next to them for some weird reason because you hit a tree. So how do you make sure that doesn't happen?
Well, that's where you get to designing your board properly.
Okay.
So there's a bunch of correct, I guess, design rules you're supposed to follow when you're designing any sort of PCB or whatever have you. And then also, usually before you release your product into the market, you're supposed to tend to get tested for EMI testing, and it needs to pass. So usually, like most devices that are out here which are being sold commercially have passed EMI testing, and they're proven to not affect anybody. Okay. The problem is a lot of home guys, a lot of these home makers and some more amateur.
I think you should say a lot of us home guys.
Yeah. Other amateur, amateur makers and builders of PCBs and circuits and stuff may not do that. They may jump straight to something. They may not know that there's other hoops you need to go through to make sure your device actually qualifies properly.
Yeah. So. And so how did you ever get some training to make sure that you are not like these amateurs?
Yeah. So I have a degree in computer engineering, and my focus was in circuit design and PCB design. So I've done a decent amount of research, and even in my job, I design circuits all the time. Then I work with engineers there, especially some of the more senior ones there, to learn the tips and tricks on how to design your board for EMI, making sure that it emits the least amount of EMI possible. Yeah. And then also we do have some equipment at work as well that allows us to test how much EMI your circuit or board is emitting. But through learning all these proper tricks and stuff, I've been able to design my boards to where they're supposed to emit the least amount of EMI as I possibly could design of them, but they still get tested and stuff. So Yeah.
That's great. So we've talked about you've told me about the drones and
Yeah.
how you ended up in you started from YouTube, right? Your interest was actually gotten off of watching YouTube videos
Yeah,
and
for the drone stuff.
kind of
Yeah.
like got kicked off from there. And then so you kind of get into designing circuit boards and all this stuff. Were you hoping to turn this into some sort of business or something like that, or?
Yeah, so like I do have a bunch of this project. But the reason why I made the whole VTX, that project is still in the works. I've been working on that project for years.
But I think you also got into 3D printing.
Yeah. So
How did you get into 3D printing? Did you? Well, I know that 3D printing started maybe something like 20 years ago, 30 years ago now. But a lot of this stuff was patented, and I guess the patent expired maybe 10 years ago.
yeah.
And maybe is that around the time you got into 3D printing, or?
So it was 2014, 2015. Essentially, whenever I forget exactly what year it was, but whenever I was a freshman in high school, I went to my local high school. I think it was open house, whatever have you. Went to the tech lab or whatever, the lab room there, and then I found that the teacher there had a bunch of 3D printers, and he was talking about how they design 3D printers and stuff there. So I was like, yep, that's what I want to do. They design and build 3D printers there, and I was like, yep, I'm gonna do that. So then I waited, I think, until I didn't have enough money to pay for the printer. I was a freshman in high school. My parents were like, yeah, we're not gonna give you all the amount of money you need right now because we just
You
can't
need
give
$5 for your birthday.
Yeah, so it's like I think it was like $300 is what I needed.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't do that. So then at that time I had started shoveling. So I had started a little thing where I'd go around door to door whenever it snowed, and I would just ask anyone if anyone needed their driveway shoveled if it wasn't shoveled already. So then eventually I figured that out. So eventually over the course of a few months, my sophomore year, I was able to get enough money to put $100 down towards building a printer. So I went to my teacher, and then he found a particular design of this printer that he had saw previously that he said I can build for $100. So I was let's do that one. That's what I did.
So your teacher gave you a 3D printer design.
Well, he had a printer that he had printed. Like he had a printer there that he had built,
Okay.
which was a kind of very bare bones. It was
Okay.
very slow, not very great. And if anyone is willing to look it up, it's called the Tiny Boy.
Okay.
So it's called
Tiny Boy.
Tiny Boy, I think is what it was called. And it was just it was a fully 3D printed printer. So you print all the parts, and you'd use threaded rod to assemble the printer. It was I loved it. It was my first 3D printer. It was fun. It was slow. It was very trash, but it taught me a whole lot about troubleshooting. And then also that's where I learned how to Google, because I think Googling is a skill.
Okay.
Because learning how to use the correct keywords and using the correct combination of keywords to find the result you're looking for, I feel like it's a skill that people don't realize is a skill, but people get good at it because, as you're trying to figure out something, you learn kind of what you need to do to find the results you're looking for. But through building this printer, that's how I learned how to Google properly. And then I learned how to scour forums for solutions for a problem I might have. So that's where I learned I spent a lot of time scouring forums. That's where I got, dipped my toes into, more heavier programming and stuff. And then that's where I got my hand into like designing 3D design as well. So designing my own parts for my 3D printer. And then like seeing the shortcomings of my 3D printer, I was like, okay, that's where I follow short. So let's design my own solutions that are better. So that's what I did. Then I posted some of these solutions online so that other people can download them too. It's like upgrading the motors and, adding like a heated bed and stuff. And then from there, that's kind of where I kind of started the whole 3D printing thing. And then from there, it kind of just spiraled out of control. I built a bunch more and then eventually started a business around it.
You've all built this yourself.
So most of them are designed and built by me.
Okay.
A couple of them were like you buy like an off the shelf CR10 or whatever have you, and then I strip it down just to its frame and like heated bed components, and then I design all my components. I designed like a whole new extruder system, hot end system for just so it's tailored to my needs, so that it works the way I need to work it.
Yeah, and so what I'm not sure we're going to be able to see the printers, but I know. So when I look at companies like MakerBoard or I look at even Creality right now.
Yep.
They are producing these 3D printers which are very beautiful, and you could probably have them in your desktop, and
Yep.
they look like this small I don't know, engineering cabinets.
Yeah, it looks
So,
like a
yeah.
looks really good now.
So
Yeah.
do your printers look the same like those, or are they just bare bones with wires running all over the place and you know all this cabling and stuff like that?
Yeah. A lot of mine weren't very like they were wire management wasn't something I was super concerned about because it was more of just getting the printer to print properly and print consistently and have a consistent printing printer. But I did take care to make sure like at least visually from far away you couldn't tell those wires everywhere. But like I didn't do a super great. I didn't care too much about hiding the wires behind the printer and stuff. So
Yeah.
in front you'd see it look pretty clean, whatever have you, and then if you turn to the side you'd see a little rat's nest there. But it allowed me to quickly get in and out for doing repairs,
Yeah.
firmware updates, upgrades and stuff like that. So
Yeah. So the business you set around your 3D printing, what does that do?
So that's business called Zype Labs. And essentially, it was a 3D printing and CAD service. So if you need something 3D printed, I guess you can go on their website and submit like a request to have something printed or get a quote from there as well.
Okay, so I just go to Zype Labs. If let's say I wanted, I don't know, a frame for, I'm trying to create an Apple Pencil.
Yeah.
Something similar to this.
Yeah.
So I just go on on the Zype Labs website, and
Yep.
I give in a requisition of what I need or a
Yep.
description of what I want to do.
Yep.
And then you guys will design my pencil for me and
Print it out, yeah.
print it out and
And
probably
then
give me-
and also I have connections with like if I want to move past that towards like injection molding and stuff, I have some connections to that too. So
Yeah.
I can essentially help take someone from like an idea to CAD to prototype, and then eventually connect you with injection molding facilities and design services to get you essentially to like a fully fledged product if you need.
Yeah, and like so injection molding for like mass production of
Yeah.
the customer's product.
Yeah, or I can just like give advice if you need to know if something is worth 3D printing, and or maybe the solution isn't 3D printing. Maybe the solution is something else. Maybe you want to do mid-scale manufacturing or small-scale manufacturing. For that, there's different solutions that are better for depending on the skill you're trying to go for. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let's backtrack here a little bit. I mean, I've seen people 3D printing stuff that is probably illegal.
Yeah.
Stuff that I don't know. 3D printing is an enabling technology.
Yes.
Basically, would turn me and nobody into this I don't know invention and patenting guru who has all these nice products and stuff like that. But what are the dangers of 3D printing that we probably don't see on a day-to-day?
But I have seen there are some movements around the world where like people are starting to look into 3D printing their own guns. And for that one, it's just one of those things where like just try to be safe. It's not like try not to break any laws. Try to be very careful with what you do. Because the whole 3D printing of guns thing, it's not. Just make sure you follow your locals. Laws and stuff.
Local laws, yeah. So I mean, you've gone into doing all this business. Have you had like mentors or people like those who you probably talk to, listen to? I mean, even generally in your life as an engineer, a designer.
For mentors wise, I wouldn't say I've really had too many mentors. I think my mentors have been more in the form of books and reading books and listening to podcasts and such. I would force myself to listen to podcasts of people who I did not know about, nor did I really agree with. Because then it forced me to listen to a different perspective. And because of that, I was able, especially when you're a podcast, you can't all of a sudden pause a podcast and talk back to the person and say, wait, I don't agree with you. So essentially, I forced myself to like listen to people who I don't necessarily agree with. That way I got comfortable with listening to all their viewpoints on the off chance that maybe I didn't think of something fully through. And because I did that as well, it also taught me to listen to people completely before I respond back. Because sometimes the last piece of information you need that will essentially negate your rebuttal is another minute or so deeper into their explanation. So for me, through learning and listening to a bunch of different people, that kind of helped shape the way I kind of look at the world and how I even do business now. It's more nuanced. You have to be you have to be willing to have to take risks, educated risks though, but also you treat people with respect, treat people well, because sometimes I'll talk to a client who's on edge, and you have to, treat them well. Sometimes if someone's mad at you, you just have to take into account maybe their situation, where they're from, their background stuff, and just kind of be more people focused, and be willing to more kind of take more into account more than just yourself.
Do you live by some money principles? I mean, I hear all these money principles about personal finance mostly.
Yeah.
But, you could also talk about your personal finance perspective to your money principles. But what money principles do you live by, if you have any?
Don't spend all your money. Like, be very intentional with what you buy. Always try to make sure you budget accordingly for your life, to make sure you still have some money saved, and I guess money to still enjoy life and such.
Yeah. So do you, you've talked about the fact that you don't want to run out of money. You want to make sure that you have some money left over. I guess some people are okay with that, having some level of debt, and living off of that.
Yeah.
Could be personal debt, using a credit card to buy stuff like an iPad or groceries.
Yeah.
Or paying for a trip or stuff like that.
Yeah.
But what's your take on, I don't know, personal debt in general?
Yeah.
And then we can talk about, debt for taking on debt for investments and business. And stuff
personal
like
debt. I feel like you should manage that accordingly. I feel like sometimes it's one of those things where you just live a little bit frugal so that you don't have to get into those kind of debts and stuff, because a lot of that stuff can be avoided if you kind of look at what you're trying to buy and see if you actually need it. It's not more of a want. If it's just a want just to make life fun, then it's like maybe you save up for it instead of you going into debt for that. But obviously everyone has their own level of debt tolerance. Some people don't mind having the debt, and that can lead to problems. But in my opinion, it's like just try to keep the amount of debt you have that's not like investment debt to a certainty. Try not to get into high amounts of credit card debt or other loan debt, and even like sometimes having a car, maybe instead of you buying the super nice car, buy a reasonable car. Buy a car then which you can pay off at a decent rate, and maybe you don't need to get the BMW or Audi. Maybe you just get a Toyota or Honda or something. Maybe you don't need a 2018 car or 2024 car. Maybe you get
2009,
2005 and stuff.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I feel like a lot of people some people like to just show off. People like to get things to, not for themselves, but for others, to show off to others. So it's not that they actually want it, it's just they want to come off as X and such,
I can't really put my word on it, but there's all these folks who say, stuff like people use money that they don't have to buy things that they don't need to please people that they don't know or don't even like.
Yeah. It was Kevin O'Neill. I think he said something along the lines of, one thing is guaranteed is when you get a loan, you're guaranteed to pay that back. But when you start a business, that's not guaranteed to succeed. So I think what he said essentially was, don't use something that's guaranteed like a loan to find something that's unknown, or that's not guaranteed like your business. So if you can, try to keep that at a minimum. If you don't have to take out loans, don't take them out. But sometimes for some businesses, you just have to take the risk and take the loan and do everything you can to make sure your business is successful. Lucky for me, I never needed to take out a loan because I started out small, and I made sure to keep my business small. And then as I needed to grow, I had the business grow at a manageable rate to the point where I didn't need to take out any loans. That makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Totally. Yeah. So there's something you did mention, and I probably wanted to talk about this with you. Your relationship with cars. And what you think about cars.
Yeah, cars are fun.
I know. Let's go back to the Hot Wheels and. Because I know as a baby you were interested in Hot Wheels. At least you've talked about this.
I feel like almost every guy's car obsession starts with that $1 Hot Wheels.
Yeah.
Yeah, that $1. I feel like as guys, or as car enthusiasts, you never really lose that love of Hot Wheels. All that happens is it gains an actual engine, an actual, grows to the size of, an actual car, then you start paying for that instead. So it's you still have your Hot Wheels now. You can just now drive it. That's all. Yeah, but I love my Hot Wheels. I love collecting them, and there's a whole bunch of stuff even within Hot Wheels and collecting those where it's just fun. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and so from Hot Wheels, did you ever get into creating, I don't know, designing your own cars, stuff like that, as you grew into, into your interest in cars?
I think as a kid, you always draw your favorite cars and stuff, and I've drawn my favorite cars because I'm also, and I did a lot of artwork as well. I still do a lot of artwork. Yeah, so draw cars and stuff, but I wasn't really too interested in designing them because designing a car to look beautiful is hard. And designing a car, because even though some of the most beautiful cars, and they're created by some of the greats in terms of design, especially car design. So designing cars, not a whole lot of, but just designing stuff for like there's a whole community of guys who modify Hot Wheels and stuff. So guys who buy. So for those who don't know, for Hot Wheels, there's a couple lines of Hot Wheels. You have your baseline $1 mainline Hot Wheels. Those are your cheap ones you see on the pegboards. Those are your $1, whatever have you. They will have.
I think those are the ones that I have. I have so many of those.
I
always give them to kids,
which is great. Yeah, and they have their line of premium cars. These are cars which are usually the $5, $6, $7, $8 cars, which usually have metal on metal bodies with rubber tires, and usually their paint is better done and stuff. And with that they have they have a bunch of different models and stuff, and they have trucks and whatever have you. And there's a whole community of guys who take the mainline Hot Wheels and they'll strip them down the paint, they'll take the cars apart, paint them up, make them look nice, add wide body kits or whatever have you, and then they'll do custom wheels, custom tires, whatever have you, and then they have these really nice custom Hot Wheels. So there's a whole community of stuff like that, and I got a little bit into that. I've done a few wheel swaps. That's what they call them, where you swap really nice wheels onto a cheaper Hot Wheels to make it look nice. I've done that too. That's pretty fun, at least in that realm.
Yeah. And have you gotten into or anybody out there? Do you know if people get into putting motors into Hot Wheels?
So there have been a few people who have done that. A few guys have done that. No one has done it well. But yeah, there've been a few people who have done that. It's an interesting project, but no one's really done it in a really good way. No one's ever really done it in a good way. That's something that can't really talk about it much, but that's something that I would like to eventually change in the future. So
yeah, that would be great to see. And how about proper cars, driving cars? So are you a guy who's into hot rods or stuff like that? Or?
Yeah, so I like my Japanese imports, JDM cars.
Okay.
So one of the cars I have right now is I have a 13 BRZ, so 2013 BRZ. A nice little fun manual car. It's fun. I love it. Super low, super fun, super loud. It's a menace, but I love that car.
Yeah.
So I've always been a fan of driving stick, Japanese imports, and I go to car meets, see the guys there. Modify my car a little bit here and there. So always my car's tune, exhaust, wheels, tires, suspension, head vents, intake, exhaust, intake, and then tuning tablet and stuff. So I like my cars. Those are fun. Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, I don't know. So growing up, I used to admire cars so much, and now I have a very different principle with cars. So my growing up, I mean, at least when I was mature enough to know cars, my dream car was an affordable car. It was a 2012 Jaguar XJ, and I felt like a dream car should be something that's out of reach. And so in 2012, a Jaguar XJ was so out of reach for me. and so now happily I can say that I drive my dream car. I mean, I got the Jaguar. It's not a 2012, but it still is a Jaguar, a different year. And I feel like now I have my dream car, but now cars are so meaningless to me. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
And they've lost all the value that they used to hold in my life. It probably has something to do with my culture, where I grew up, and your car has holds some sort of status in society, and you get all these feelings. But now I feel like a car is just a tool to get me from point A to point B. you know?
I feel like that happens a lot with people. Is like they have this. Some people have this dream of something they want to get, you know, and then what ends up happening is that when that dream becomes attainable, and when they do get that dream, they find out that they didn't actually what they liked, what they were chasing was not the actual dream itself, but the process of trying to get it. So essentially, it's like building up the wealth for you for that thing. And I feel like that happens a lot. Like sometimes, like it's like, oh my goodness, I wanted to have, I don't know, this car or this Hot Wheels or something, and then you get it, and then you feel empty because it's like, what now?
Yeah,
you have it now.
What next?
Yeah, because the whole thing, the thing that kept you going was the pursuit of the dream. The problem is now that you have the dream, it's like, now what?
Yeah,
I think that happens with a lot of things.
You know, is there anything that you know that has happened in your life that you?
I mean, in the car world, yeah, my dream car for the longest time was an 08 to 14 STI hatch, so Subaru STI hatch. Still want that car, but now that I can actually get it, it like you see other things out here because now that dream is now all of a sudden obtainable. Then it's like, huh. Then you realize that a car is just supposed to get you from point A to point B. That's why like now you get into modifying your car, and then that's how you keep the whole thing interesting. Because now you start, you know, you still have to have something to chase. So now you start chasing the next mod, or then this paint job, or taking care of your car. You hear this and that and the third. So but I feel like that happens. Yeah, even in life, sometimes it's like now you have the dream house. Now what?
Yeah, what next?
Now you had that. Now you hit that dollar amount. Then what? You know.
Yeah.
So
and so I mean, is there a principle that you live by then that you know gets you out of that you know that I don't know rat chase of chasing dreams and stuff like that?
I think one solution, just set a dream so large that it's almost scary. A dream so large it's almost unobtainable. That you just keep striving for the rest of your life, or instead of you chasing a dream, you chase your family or something. You chase providing for your family. So instead of you chasing a dream, you then live your life to make sure the people you love are taken care of or something like that. Because instead of you chasing a dream, it's like you said you love your family, or you love something, or you put your energy into someone else, something like that. That can also be a solution to that.
Yeah, this has been the Couch Connect. It's been nice having you over here, man. And nice conversations. You can always catch Moses on his company Zype Labs. So zypelabs.com. You can go over there if you have any idea that you want designed, prototype, produced, mass manufactured. This is your guy, your go-to guy. It's been fun having you over here. This has been the Couch Connect. See you soon.
Yes, sir.
All right.